Kana reminisces about her childhood acting career losing steam. Instead of this show thrusting her back into the spotlight, she's becoming increasingly frustrated by the other actors' poor performances, despite her best efforts to prop them up. When they film Aqua's scene, he deliberately gets under the lead's skin, improvising lines and provoking him. So when the moment comes that he's supposed to hit Aqua, he really wants to hit him. Kana is surprised by his performance. It's setting her up to shine and does justice to her favorite scene from the manga. After the take, the lead apologizes for connecting the punch to Aqua's face, but he brushes it off. It was him who was trying to elicit a real reaction in the first place. Despite going off script, the crew is impressed with the result, and they decide to leave it as it is. Yoriko, the series mangaka, watches the new and final episode. Her assistants try to console her about the generally poor adaptation. But after finishing the episode, she breaks into tears over Kana and Aqua's performance, which makes her appreciate the adaptation that she had previously given up hope on. Despite most people writing the show off, the reception of the final episode is positive. At the wrap party, Kana is surprised to find out that Aqua is single. While they talk, Yoriko walks over to personally thank Kana for saving the show with her performance. The producer, Masaya, approaches Aqua with the same sentiment. Aqua's clandestine DNA test from his cigarette butts proved that he isn't his father. He notes, however, that Aqua looks like I, having worked closely with her in the past. Aqua asks about his relationship with I, and he reveals that he used to recommend restaurants and such where she could meet guys without her agency catching on. This piques Aqua's interest, and he tries to get more details about her relationships. This gives Masaya the leverage to ask Aqua to be in a new reality dating show, in exchange for information about I. On the twins' first day of school, Kana points out that every student is an entertainer of some sort, which makes Ruby nervous. In class, she meets Minami, a pinup model, and the two quickly become friends. Later, Ruby introduces her to Aqua and asks if he's made any friends. He's a bit defensive, since he hasn't. Ruby goes on to talk about Friel, a multi-talented entertainer who's in her class. And just then, she happens to walk by. Aqua is confused about why Ruby's fawning over her and approaches Friel to ask if she'll be friends with his sister. Ruby is floored that she recognizes him from Sweet Today. She also recognizes Minami, but when she turns to her, Ruby becomes super self-conscious. She hasn't yet been in anything to be recognized from. At home, Ruby begs Miyako to help her kickstart her idol career, but she's having trouble scouting other members for the group. She won't poach talent signed to other agencies, and that limits her to complete unknowns or freelancers.
Ding!
Aqua suggests asking Kana to join. At school, Ruby follows Kana, noting her characteristics that appeal to idol fans. Aqua notices his sister creeping around and tells her to just ask Kana, but Ruby is nervous. They haven't exactly been on the best of terms. Aqua helps out by sending Kana a message to meet up after school. Kana's looking over the social media conversation around the last episode of Sweet Today and gets flustered when she comes across a comment about Aqua's looks. Of course, that's exactly when she receives his text. She immediately gets the wrong idea and is excited, only to be disappointed when she finds Ruby there waiting with Aqua after school. Shelving her pride for the moment, Ruby gets straight to the point and asks Kana to be in an idol group with her. Kana is caught off guard and asks for some time to think it over. Her instinct is to turn down the offer to preserve her career as an actor, though Ruby does remind her of I, and she sees her potential. Just as she begins to say no, Aqua gets on one knee and begs her. Despite her best efforts to refuse the proposal, she ends up caving in. Miyako is surprised that he actually got her to agree and warns him to be careful with his antics. Kana wonders if Aqua has another job lined up, and Ruby, clearly ashamed, reveals his role in a new dating show, which they then sit down to watch. His first appearance on the screen leaves them dumbfounded. Aqua's behavior, disposition, the things he says, it's not him at all. Miyako overhears this and reminds them that he is an actor after all. But this reassurance doesn't make Kana feel any better. On set, Aqua meets co-star Yuki, who's equally unenthusiastic about the show. She makes several humbling admissions, including that she's bad at making conversation. But it turns out she was just playing for the cameras, which are always filming. Back home, Ruby berates her brother. She refuses to let anyone she doesn't approve of make moves on him, and decides that she must choose one for him herself. Yuki would be acceptable. Aqua is not impressed with her judgment of character. The next day, Kana isn't too thrilled about the whole idol thing, while Ruby tries to figure out what they can do to drum up interest and find more members. Miyako tells them that having an online presence is the way to go these days. And luckily for them, Strawberry Productions has loads of experience managing online streamers. She sets up a meeting with Pieon, a strength trainer who wears a bird mask in his videos, and in meetings apparently. Kana has doubts, but quickly changes her tune when she finds out that he's the agency's top earner. They brainstorm ideas for their online debut. The first idea is to make a prank video, but the prank would be staged. And contrary to her mother's philosophy, Ruby thinks they should go another, more authentic route. So they decide to make a video where the girls also wear bird masks and perform a calisthenically choreographed dance. If they can last 1 hour, then they will reveal their faces. The collaboration is way harder than they thought, and they barely make it to the end. But they do. And after the hour is up, the girls remove their masks and try to introduce themselves while gasping for breath. When their host asks what their group's name is, Kana lets Ruby choose one on the spot. They are B Kamachi, named directly after Ai's group. Yuki toys with the idea of quitting on the latest episode of Love Now. The producers love it for the cliffhanger, and their audience eats up the drama. But when the cameras are off, she reveals that she wasn't actually planning on leaving the show, but she wasn't acting either. Those were real feelings, and she was just exaggerating them. Akane, one of her co-stars, takes notes on everything. After another day of filming, some of the cast members plan to go out for dinner. Nobuyuki invites Aqua along, and he begrudgingly accepts. At the restaurant, Aqua notices Akane's awkward tendency to not get very involved, but write everything down. At home, Ruby chews Aqua out for skipping out on their Sunday dinner and bemoans how staged the quote-unquote reality show is. He explains that the cast often does act genuinely, but sometimes lying about things protects them in their real lives. A love triangle forms on set revolving around Yuki, leaving Akane feeling invisible. Aqua distances himself and stays on the sidelines with Memcho. She's pleased that she's racking up viewers on her YouTube channel, which was her objective. Though she's growing concerned for Akane, who doesn't seem to be doing well. She hasn't been able to find her groove on the show. Later, Akane overhears her manager getting chewed out by her agency's president. Her lack of screen time is an embarrassment, and he accuses them of not taking this opportunity seriously. Her manager wishes she hadn't overheard that. He considers it his job to protect her from that kind of thing, and tries to assure her that he expects nothing more than everything she's already putting into her performance. But she takes what she heard to heart and feels pressured to stand out. At Strawberry Productions, Kana stops Ruby from posting complaints about a drink. If they're going to be idols, then pissing off any potential sponsors is just bad business. A somewhat clueless Ruby doesn't get how they'd even notice. Kana points out that Ruby looks herself up online, doesn't she? And grabs her phone to prove it. She does. She then assures her that companies ego surf their brands as well. They'll see it. On set, Akane feels she needs to get more screen time however she can, and even asks the director for advice. He suggests she could be the bad girl. While Yuki does Akane's nails, Akane admits she feels like she has to make some kind of move to stand out before the show ends. Yuki understands, but is also pretty happy with being front and center on the show, and warns her that she's not going to back down. Later, Akane manages to get Nobuyuki aside to talk, but Yuki steps in and almost effortlessly steals him away. Not wanting to fall into obscurity, Akane goes after them and ends up scratching Yuki's face. The crew cuts to address the wound. Akane feels horrible since Yuki has a shoot the next day, but Yuki forgives her and they affirm their respect for one another. Despite making up off-screen, Akane's image online begins to decline, and Yuki's fans pile on the hate. Trying to save face, Akane posts an apology, but it backfires since people often see an apology as an admission of deliberate wrongdoing. It just makes the onslaught worse. This sends her into a downward spiral as people in her life start to turn against her. Despite giving her all and working hard for what she's got, nobody online or at school sees or cares. Unable to deal with the harsh criticism and outright cyberbullying, Akane is despondent. She goes out during a typhoon and stops on a bridge. And right when she steps off, she's grabbed by a hooded figure. She cries out and struggles, but it's Aqua there with his arms around her, and she begins to calm. Thank you for sticking until the end. Subscribe for more videos like this.